we talking about the Egyptian origins of ancient India and the Naga Kush. And see, a lot of times people just think we be making things up out of nowhere, which is not true. This is very heavily documented. A lot of times people don't even want to accept the documentation because it's too thorough, you see. And so now, let's deal with some things because many of the ancients, uh, many of the ancients wrote about the connection between uh ancient India and ancient Egypt. Okay. Hold just a second, fam. Yeah, so we're talking about let me get it in here. Let me get it in here. We're in the house. We're in the house. So let me make sure I blow it up. So well, it's pretty. It's blowed up as best it could be. It's blowed up best as could be. So, we asked, about Diodorus Siculus, who was a Greek historian. He was born in Sicily. He lived around the first century BC. Okay, and I asked him, did Diodorus Siculus say that Osiris founded a colony in India? Okay, does it say yes? Where does Diodorus say this? Diodorus Siculus, a first century BC Greek historian, describes this in the Library of History. Okay, what was it? Book one. And it says key passages include book one, chapter 17 through 18, where it says Osiris is portrayed as a civilizing god king. He travels throughout the inhabited world. He brings culture, agriculture, laws, and religious rites. His journeys explicitly include India. So when a lot of people sit up here and say, "Oh, Seti B," man, listen here, slow your roll. The facts speak for themselves. You feel me? We got a documentation that go all the way back. You understand to the first century BC, first century AD. And this is he BC? He's BC. BC. Okay. And so what it says is Diodorus writes that Osiris marched with an army. Didn't I tell you that they conquered? Didn't I tell you? Subdued peoples peacefully, founded cities and colonies, So when I talk about the Naga Kush and all of this, you got to understand that people understood this from ancient times, and they've been trying to whitewash this information, you see, for a long time, but it's still continuing to get out. Left behind governors and institutions. Okay. India is named as one of the regions where Osiris established rule and institutions. Now, why would this man say some shit like that? If it wasn't at the minimum being discussed amongst the people, it was some reason why they would say that. Okay, because he's not the only one that speaks on that matter. Okay, what died, you know, and so here they go. What Diodorus actually believes. So they know this is where they got to come in and change it. That's what the AI ain't shit. It ain't nothing. It'll give you some information, but it's trying to correct it. It's trying to correct it. It's say you got to correct it. You got to, you got to change something up. And so Diodorus is not writing myth in a modern fantasy sense. In book one, he treats Egyptian gods as deified historical rulers. Use what is it? Euhemerism. Euhemerism. Gods, ancient god kings later worship. Okay, presents Osiris as a real ancient king of Egypt. So when he says Osiris went to India, he means an ancient Egyptian ruler whose memory, see, listen, now, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. An ancient Egyptian ruler whose memory later became mythologized as Osiris. Okay, mythologized as Osiris. Important nuance. Diodorus does not say that Osiris ruled India permanently, that Egypt politically controlled India long term. Okay, so whatever. But the fact that the Egyptians were in India, the Kushite was in India, is obvious that this is not just some myth that African-centered writers have just created just, a couple of days ago. You see what I'm saying? No, sir. This is goes back even into the BC period. Okay. It does say Osiris reached India. He left behind colonies or institutions. His influence extended as far as India, went even further than that. Say he had conquered the known world. Why this matters historically. This passage is often cited in discussions about ancient long distant contacts. You see? And they always talking about isolation, that the civilizations was isolated. That's a damn lie. We got to stop the Egyptian civilizing myth. Parallels between Osiris, Dionysus, and Eastern traditions. Greek awareness of Egypt, India connections. The Greeks frequently equated Osiris with Dionysus, and similar claims are made about Dionysus reaching India, reinforcing the tradition. Okay. Bottom line, yes, DIODORUS SICULUS explicitly says Osiris traveled to India and founded colonies or institutions there, presenting Osiris as a deified historical Egyptian ruler whose influence reached India. Now, I'm going to go in here and go even deeper. Now, I asked him, did Diodorus say the Egyptians were black? Now, listen to this, because this is just what you call jumping through the hoop. It says, no, Diodorus Siculus does not explicitly say the Egyptians were black in the modern racial sense. Okay. So, that's right there jumping through a hula hoop. But yes, listen, he does describe Egyptians as dark skinned and links them to peoples the Greek regarded as Ethiopian. Now, what we have to understand is that the Ethiopian or the Greeks is not the modern Ethiopia. The Ethiopia to the Greeks was Sudan, which would be known as Nubia. You see, so let's be clear about that. Because when people say, you look at the Egypt, and so ain't no goddamn way if you look at the Nubians and what they look like, because a lot of people always try to do this phenotypical shit where the Nubians somehow look different than the fucking Egyptians. You see, that they were so phenotypically different. And here these Greeks looking dead at the motherfuckers in the time when they existed in ancient time. And they say the Egyptians are regarded as Ethiopian. How is that possible? What are y'all seeing that they didn't see? We got to clear that up. We got to clear that one up, you see, because that really matters. You know, that the Sudan of the ancient world was Sudan, the Ethiopia of the ancient world of the Greeks was Sudan, was the Nubians. Okay. So explain to me how the Nubians and the Egyptians is different when the ancient world was almost unanimous that they were the same. That the and listen to what he say, because Dr. Clark and Sheikh Diop brought that up. Because this is a heavy uh 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 documentation. Now it says in Library of History, Book 3, when discussing Ethiopians and Egyptians, Diodorus writes, the Ethiopians were the most ancient people. Now I brought that up because a lot of people, believe somehow that maybe Charles Darwin created the outer Africa. No, he did not. He took it and he flipped it and made some other shit out of it that he wanted to. But even into the Greeks, it was already known that the Ethiopians were the most ancient of people. And it was recognized as a fact amongst the ancient world. Now, whether they believe they all came from one another would have, it probably wasn't on that level, but everybody acknowledged that the Ethiopians were the most ancient people because they had the most advanced civilization, which would require far more time on the planet to acquire that knowledge. Just let's be real about that. Okay. When you look at the pyramids, it's obvious that our people been on the planet developing arts and sciences for hundreds of thousands of years to attain that level of sophistication, to build on that level. And so it says, what did Diodorus Siculus say? Not SETI, not Dr. Ben, not Sheikh Diop. He said, Diodorus says, in the first century BC, the Egyptians were colonists from Ethiopia. Damn. But that's damn near what every other book say. That's what that's what the Bible say, that Ethiopia and Egypt are brothers. The Greek mythology say that the Egyptians and the Ethiopians are brothers. So how is it almost unanimous in the ancient world and they were looking right at them, and then we get down here in latter time and people get confused because they've been taught wrong? Obviously, you dealing with some information that they didn't have to deal with. And that's clear. That's damn clear. So it says the Egyptians were colonists from Ethiopia. Egyptians inherited religion, laws, customs, listen, physical traits from the Ethiopians. Now, this is AI saying this shit. You see, I'm making motherfuckers say what they need to say. He describes, Ethiopians, as black skinned with woolly hair. That's significant. Okay, that's significant. He describes Ethiopians as black skinned with woolly hair and says the Egyptians came from them in remote antiquity. Listen to what it says. This is the strongest ancient statement linking Egyptians to a dark-skinned African origin. Okay, not Pan-Africanist, not African-centered. This is from ancient times. So let us find your theory in ancient. Can you find your theory in ancient times? Or is your shit something that just been made up today? That's the question. And that's what the European is, he because we are using his own, supposedly, because it very well does, just because it says that he was from Greece doesn't mean he was actually a Caucasian. But we would assume that he was, but the fact that we can use, Caucasian writers to document this is very extraordinary. That's very extraordinary that we can bring that up. You see, very extraordinary. Now let's go down here. key passage, paraphrase faithfully. Diodorus book 3, I believe is uh paragraph 8 through 10 states that Egypt was settled by people migrating from the south Ethiopia. Because of the sun's heat, they developed dark skin, which means what we've been saying forever. I just had a whoop ass session about a week ago about that. Because of the sun's heat, they develop dark skin. Egyptian religious practices, priesthood, and kingship, including the Medunetta, came from Ethiopia. Okay, he treats this as history, not a myth. Now, what's crazy, this is what Sheikh Diop and Dr. John Henry Clark brought up. Now, goddamn, if the Ethiopians say that Egypt was a colony of Ethiopia, and he looking at the Egyptian, and he looking at both the Ethiopian and the Egyptian, and they don't look like one another, he could have easily refute that right then and there. He never refuted it. Okay? If he looking at the Ethiopian and he looking at both the Egyptian, and he doesn't say, oh, that's impossible because the Egyptians are light skinned or whatever people want to believe, he could have easily refuted that. That's just, I mean, that's just a common observation. It don't take no goddamn PhD to refute that. But he never refutes it. Okay, he never brings up that no, they didn't look alike. Okay, and it does say that they inherited physical traits. We saw right there the Egyptians were colonists from Ethiopia. Egyptians inherited religion, laws, customs, physical traits, which mean that they would have had to look just like the damn Ethiopians. Okay. So, color variation on the wall, it very more likely because you got black Egyptian. And so they never show you the black Egyptians. To see, and then when I looked up on the wall, they had Nubians that were painted red. Motherfuckers don't bring that up neither. So I seen Egyptians that were black, and I seen Nubians that were painted with the red. But nobody brings that up. You see, because they see what they want to see. They show them what they want them to, see. They don't never too much show. And when they do show the black Egyptians, it's almost, it's by default that they label them Nubians when they are actually Egyptians. Okay. So I don't even want, but what it does say, how Greeks understood color terms. Ethiops literally meant burnt face. Greeks used it for very dark skinned Africans. Skin color was described phenotypically, not racially. Egyptians were generally seen as darker than Greeks, lighter than Southern Ethiopians. Okay. Other Greek writers agree on this spectrum. Herodotus describes Egyptians as dark skinned with woolly hair, just like Diodorus Siculus. And he didn't say dark, he said black. I'm tired of them using dark skin. Yeah, the term that he used was black, Melanos or whatever, which is black, not dark. It means black. Okay, the same root that you get melanin from. Okay, and say Aristotle links Egyptians to Africans climatically, and Strabo links Egyptians with Africans ethnically. So I mean, all of them. So again, even when Strabo places Egyptians with Africa ethnically, meaning that their customs was African. They custom. One say they look African. The other one says their customs was African. You see, I mean, that's just damn near clear to me. I don't need no more from nobody. You see, everything else is fake news. You see, everything else is fake news. And so they can, all of that trying to say, well, not racially, or, they're just, okay, whatever make you feel good. Say the Egyptians were not black using modern racial language. If an ancient Egyptian was in the modern world, he would be in America. He would be a black American. He would be an African American. So I mean, so what the fuck is they talking about? You see, that's a lot of garble. You see, babble and shit. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. So it's clear that and so it goes back that this black king later, synchronized with Osiris, went into India. And he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one. They kept going to India. Once they established, they left. It says he left. They left governors. They left institutions, and that's clear when I show you these ancient similarities. And the truth is, just like many of the Greeks is giving up a lot of the truth, they went to the Americas too. They went to the Americas too. Okay, so they try to say that the ancient world was isolated. That's not so true. You see, that's not so true. I appreciate y'all, family. We got some more. I got to keep it moving so I can get at least a few of these heavy videos out before y'all go to sleep. You feel what I'm saying? Come right black. Hit me up. Get over there to Patreon. You feel me, family? Link up. Get some of that information. You can start at the bottom, work your way to the top. As soon as you get over there and you link up, you are already, even at the bottom, you got a heavy treasure chest. Been going for over 5 years, 6 years. So if you come in even at the bottom, you got a treasure chest to build from. So there's no reason for you not to get that work. All right, family. I'll see you back here in just a second. Arm yourself with knowledge. Bang on that wicked ass beast daily. Liberation through African education and confrontation. Booyah. Black power.